Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Helene from WLC, and I'm delighted to be joined by Maria Reid today. Maria is an entrepreneur, a coach, and an expert on money mindset. She will soon be leading an exciting workshop for us on the 14th of July for the Women Lead community here in Vienna. And today we are giving you a preview of what you can expect. So thank you so much, Maya, for being here today. And before we dive into the topic itself, I would love our audience to get to know you more. And to do that, could you tell us a little bit more about your journey and what led you to specialize in helping women transform their relationship with money?
Thank you, Helen. It's lovely to be here and to have the opportunity to really share a little bit about the work that I do at Women in Business Coaching and the workshop that I'll be delivering with the Women Lead community. As far as my journey goes, I started my career in a very traditional way. I went to university, I built a successful corporate career in human resources and leadership development. I spent 20 years helping organizations develop their people and leaders. Then in 2021, everything changed. I was made redundant at the end of my maternity leave, just as my youngest son was turning 1. And it was one of the most pivotal moments in my life. So one of those moments that makes you kind of stop and have to rethink not only your career, but your whole future, really, and your identity, and inevitably your finances too. So as I transitioned into business coaching, I began specializing in female entrepreneurship. And I came across this concept of money mindset for the first time ever. It completely changed the way I thought about money. So I realized that I spent years living on financial autopilot, and I never really questioned any of my beliefs, any of my habits, any of my assumptions that were at play when it comes to money. So until I transitioned from that more passive to more active relationship with money in self-employment, it wasn't really on my radar. Then I realized that the more women I worked with and spoke to, that I wasn't really alone. So as I now help women turn their expertise into income for their own businesses, money mindset always become, a central conversation in coaching, because as we grow our ambition, as we step into more leadership, more independence with what we do with entrepreneurship, or if we simply want more choice really in our life, our relationship with money shows up. It shows up in those contexts. So especially when it comes to how we value ourselves, how we set our prices as entrepreneurs. So ultimately, it can propel us or it can slow us down and limit us. So that's why it's such a powerful and important part of the work that I do with women. And that's why I kind of pay attention to that a lot in our coaching. And intentionally explore how women think, how women feel, what they believe about money, because bringing those patterns out into the open, into our conscious awareness, gives us more choice, more choice and more empowerment. And once we have choice, we can begin making decisions and building habits that really support us in building a business that we want or building the future that we want, rather than repeating the past.
Good. Thank you so much for your answer. That's really, really insightful. I think we are leading to my next question was why money mindset? I mean, you already mentioned that partially, but many people think that financial success is simply about budgeting better or earning more, and I think that's the belief that many women have these days, that I need to be more cautious, I need to do more, I need to work more, I need to spend less. But you often say that money is much more emotional than logical. And it's very interesting for me as well to dive into that, because I'm also a coach, and can you explain what you mean by that exactly, about the emotion and the feelings around the money? Because money is is a tangible thing, you know, it's not emotion, it's a factual. And you talk about emotions a lot. So can you explain that a little bit more?
Absolutely. So, yeah, you're totally right. Many people think that financial success and how we do with money is about budgeting better or earning more or being more cautious. But I often realize that actually it's less about the spreadsheets, it's less about the P&Ls or the figures on your bank account or the spreadsheet or something, you know, that you have or don't have, something tangible. If it was that simple, really, we would all be saving in the same way. We would all be spending in the same way. We would all be earning in the same way, because if it was just, that black and white and straightforward, but two people can have exactly the same income and completely different experiences of money, react to it completely differently, spend it completely differently. I actually like how Morgan Housel talks about money in his book, The Psychology of Money. He mentions that how well we do with money is little is less about what we know, but more about how we behave. So it's less about how we understand money and understand how it works, returns on investments and all those sort of things, but more about our behavior. And of course, our behavior is a result of what we think, what we believe, the emotions that we are feeling. So um, behaviors are pretty much influenced by that. So um, that's why how we are with money is more about the relationship we have with it and the emotions that it creates for us. And then, we react based on that emotions. That's what we do as human beings. So, we can have a very different reaction when we feel guilty, when we feel shameful, when we feel unworthy. Naturally we'll create resistance if we feel that money conflicts with our inner values as well. So, we may hesitate to ask for money or avoid money conversations. We may avoid money decisions, all of that. But when we feel confident, when we feel worthy, when we feel open, we make very, very different decisions. We notice different opportunities. We can value ourselves differently, and also receive or create more money as well, create more possibilities. So for me, money mindset is about understanding, less about accounting and getting better with budgeting, but really recognizing the energy and the emotions that money brings up for us, and creating a healthier relationship because of that as well.
Yeah, and I like what you are saying about feeling enough and I'm enough, so I'm allowed to have more. I'm allowed to spend, or I'm allowed to do a little extra this month. So, or I'm enough, and I don't have to buy another dress because I already have 12 dresses I'm not wearing. So I really agree with that. I think, and especially as women, we have a very emotional relationship with money because it's also about our own freedom as well, most of the time, and how we can lead our lives. So I totally agree with that. And yeah.
Yeah, if I can add as well that actually it is about freedom, but even on a more basic survival level, it is about a survival, right? It's something that, and I think again, if we realize this, where our decisions and actions are coming from, it's like, what is money all about, right? It is such a sometimes controversial, or not even so controversial, but kind of, yeah, emotionally evoking kind of subject, is because it ultimately people being like, well, I need it to survive. If I lose it, then that's it. And obviously our brain catastrophizes all of these scenarios. So the more we can understand those kind of thinking patterns that are coming from those very kind of primitive responses in ourselves as well, then we can, actually have a much more informed, logical, mature response, and make decisions from that place rather than reactively.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with that. And it's a really good way to end that question, because the next one was about beliefs, you know. So when do these beliefs come from, you know? And because for me it's fascinating, because many of us don't even realize that we have beliefs about money, you know. Sometimes we are not even aware of that, you know. And for me, I think the question I had for you was, where do these beliefs usually come from? And how can they continue to influence us as adults, you know? And why do we have, why do we think the way we think, basically?
Yeah, and absolutely, you know, it's not something we are taught to stop and think about. It's not something we are encouraged to think about. We are very much, I guess, taught to think kind of logically and you know, to learn information, absorb information, rather than kind of look also inwards about actually how we process that and then how we make decisions and act from that. But with money, it's like anything else. We've absorbed our relationship with money from our families, our communities, our workplaces, our culture, television, school. If you think about it, our brain constantly gets imprinted with information. We are like sponges, right? We see things, hear things, experience things, and it shapes us to the people that we are today. So we've grown up with all observed our families approaching finance in a certain way, right? And that kind of rubs off, like the same way as, you know, our culture, our broader national cultures or cultural backgrounds, upbringing, all of those experiences today will shape and influence our relationship with money. Just like, I don't know, they shape our preferences in food, for example, right? If we always eat this certain type of food, or you know, in certain cultures, that is going to be our way of eating. This is our way of conducting ourselves. This is our way of being. So those beliefs about money are kind of shaped in the same way. And of course, then reflect in our behaviors and decisions that we take, and the risks that we are prepared to take, and how we feel about all of that. And um, so yes, these our relationship with money develops as information imprints on our brain, and sometimes it can be incredibly helpful. We, you know, we might have experiences and um, uh, you know, stories that actually support us in having positive relationship with money, and sometimes, you know, they limit us. So it is really about bringing them up out into consciousness and recognizing them and being able to make better decisions. um, they can create thresholds for us as well, right? Comfort zone, you know, the kind of the money that we have grown up seeing and what we've grown up believing will create a comfort zone around it. What we feel is possible, what we feel we are allowed, what we feel we're not allowed, what is too much, and so on. So that's again really interesting thing to explore. Um, Also, wealth might have been associated with greed and excess, and, you know, being out of touch with reality, all these sort of things. So if you think about the characters that we grew up seeing on TV, where kind of the wealthy villains and the struggling but good heroes, all of those stories of Robin Hood and so on, you know, they kind of tied money to morality, which is again something interesting to reflect on. And, you know, they might have instilled things within us that we subconsciously still perceive through that lens in a kind of reality. So, um, you know, for example, me growing up in Poland, where like that Western capitalism and money was demonized, certainly made me look at money in a certain way as well. So it's yeah, it is interesting to really explore that and uh, be able to actually consciously decide, is this serving me, or is this actually limiting me? So the workshop is going to be really about bringing those beliefs into conscious awareness and making better decisions that serve us.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. And it's also about education, you know. And for me, for example, I was raised as a Catholic, and so money is evil, you know.
Yeah.
So you don't even talk about it, you know, because it's just like bad, really bad, you know. Um, and I also wanted to ask you that, I mean, obviously this is a workshop for women, but it seems to me that it's not random, you know, you have a special focus on women. And what do you think? What unique challenges do women face when it comes to money and financial confidence?
Yeah, so I think for women it's interesting because I believe that we don't have the same relationship with money as men. Only relatively recently, women had kind of equal access to education, careers, finances, right? So we have not got the history, and we often don't see ourselves as those who are kind of independent with money, who create money, who bring the money in. And I'm kind of generalizing in this sense, but women traditionally step into different roles in the society, which have not been um, focused on money. And I can even notice that in myself. I've got sons and I've got a daughter, and we already have different conversations about money, much more openly and much more kind of money driven, perhaps with the boys. And with my daughter is, and I actually had that conversation with someone this morning. It's more like, oh yeah, don't worry about money, and then you catch yourself thinking like, oh, that's interesting. I think we have those hidden biases, again, that we don't even realize. So I think if, and right now we are becoming much more aware of our own actions, of how, you know, we influence everyone around us and those biases ourselves. So it's interesting to really again explore that. And yeah, I think women have traditionally gone into different roles. They have valued their time differently. They have, you know, historically undertaken most of the unpaid roles within the household. Um, so not taken that lead role. So I think stepping into leadership with money does require, first of all, understanding our feelings and thoughts around it so that we can feel much more empowered going forward.
Mhm. Good. And that leads to my next question about the hidden cost of limiting beliefs, you know. So what do you think? How do these subconscious beliefs show up in everyday life or in business? And for example, what are some signs that someone might be held back by their money mindset without even realizing it, you know?
Yeah, so I think often these um, things don't look like on the surface they have a lot to do with money, if that makes sense. So they show up as decisions that we make or don't make, the decisions that we avoid, conversations that we avoid, what place we make our decisions from. So and again, it's not something that's usually in our conscious awareness. It's not something that we question for ourselves. But do we take decisions from a place of lack, or from scarcity, or from a place of abundance? You know, I personally believe that whatever place we take our decisions from, we create more of. So if we can take decisions from a place of peace and joy and abundance, we can, you know, create more of that going forward. So um, that's one of the examples. Another thing where it shows up in how we value our time, what we uh, put our time into, how we spend our time, how we value our expertise and self-worth and so on. So these stories that we tell ourselves about other people, about what they can or cannot afford, the opportunities that we pursue or avoid, when we say yes to ourselves, or you know, what we give ourselves permission to do or go after, the judgments that we are afraid of, And yeah, the choices that we make, are we making them intentionally, or are we simply just running on default? So yeah, I think it's a lot of that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And it leads me to the next question, which are the your coaching framework actually. And we're going to talk about the six elements. So basically, your coaching framework is built around six key elements of money mindset. Could you walk us through these six elements and explain why each one is so important?
Yeah, so when I work with individuals around their money mindset, I feel that there are six elements that kind of make up the money mindset alchemy. So, those things that are imprinted and from which we take decisions and actions. And there is also that element to it that actually these have been shaped, or these might have been shaped unconsciously, but as I said, we are imprinting all the time. So if the imprinting is happening for us all the time, if our mindset is happening for us all the time, we might as well take an active role in shaping it in a way that supports us in the long term and that supports us in achieving the goals that we have. So the first thing that we often look at is money identity. Like, all our actions and habits, behaviors are downstream from our identity. So if we see ourselves as someone who has money, who's good with money, who feels empowered with money, who creates money, that will shape the actions and decisions that we take. Someone who has an identity, or as I call it, a self-concept of as a person who makes 50K a year will have a very different identity and will have very different actions and decisions that someone who has an identity of 50K a month, right? So this is about your identity, and again, being intentional about how we see ourselves, our self-concept, and making sure that the decisions actually flow from the identity that we consciously want to create, rather than the default identity that we have yeah, kind of developed as part of our kind of journey.
That's all.
Yeah, sorry. So going to the next one, it's money beliefs. So these are all the things that we believe about money, the good and the bad, how we believe that, there is a lot of money in the economy, or that no one is spending money, that people have money or don't have money, that money is good or money is bad. Uh, so all of these beliefs again will influence how we take action, because if we obviously believe that people don't are not going to invest in our services, we are going to undercharge, we are going to diminish the value of what we provide. So yet if we believe that actually there is money in the economy, people are spending, people are investing, it will make us take a very different action, and it will make us see very different opportunities, or even create better opportunities for ourselves. The next one is self-worth. And this is about, again, what we feel we are worthy of. Do we feel like we are enough? Do we feel like we are deserving certain things? Do we feel we have that permission? Everything that's kind of around that, how we what we think about ourselves. Valuing our expertise is another one, and again, that comes very often with women thinking that what they have is not worth much, that everyone knows it, that that even though they've got expertise that they have grown and nurtured over the years, we tend to undervalue it as women. So valuing our expertise as something really kind of precious and valuable will again influence how we feel, how we act with money. Self-talk. So these are all the helpful and unhelpful things that we tell ourselves when no one's listening in our head. And it can be very powerful because it can empower us or disempower us. So that element of money mindset is also really important and influences again how the decisions and actions we take around money. And finally, actually, is valuing our time. And so the things that we do with our time, how we spend our time, will is a huge part of money mindset as well. So these are the six elements that we work around with money mindset work.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for this very broad answer. Let's talk about the benefits of attending the session now. So who is this workshop really for? And what kind of women do you hope will join us?
So the workshop is for anyone, any woman who's curious about her relationship with money. So you don't need to be running a business. You don't need to be experiencing financial difficulty. This is just really about if you are wondering why money feels easy at times or difficult at other times, or why certain financial decisions feel harder than others, or there is something that perhaps you are noticing or just are curious about. Maybe you have some financial goals that you want to achieve. Maybe you have tried and it feels harder than it should. And you think like, oh, maybe there is something with my mindset that needs exploring. Maybe you thinking about habits. If you try to instigate some sort of change within your environment, within your life, and want to put new habits in place. Or maybe you have tried and it's not working. Do you know what? Actually, as I'm explaining all of this, I'm kind of thinking, if you, the analogy that keeps coming to mind is a relationship with money is like relationship with food, right? This is kind of, if you want to make better choices, better decisions with money, if you want to understand where your relationship is coming from and why you make certain choices in a certain way, or why, you don't seem to be able to maintain certain level of income or savings or all these sort of things. So you feel like, one step forward, two steps back. And I think, that's really who this is for. So anyone kind of curious about those things.
Good. And without giving everything away, what can participants expect during the session?
So I think we will be exploring our relationship with money. So we will be looking at how that has been shaped. We will first of all understand what money mindset is, why we're kind of having these conversations, and then I'm planning to go into a couple of exercises which will really bring anything that's kind of in the subconscious out into the open, and then reflecting on how these decisions or how these kind of beliefs and thoughts and feelings about money are influencing our day to day, and kind of what different decisions we can make as a result of the awarenesses that we now have, and how they can support the goals that we have for our future.
Mm-hmm. And how do you hope they will feel when they leave the session?
So I really feel they will feel lighter, not because some things have changed overnight, but I think when we are able to really understand ourselves better, and when we have these spaces where we can talk openly, things just seem to untangle naturally. So things that we might have been circling for weeks or months and not been able to resolve, and we're all up in our head about, when you kind of provide an environment which is open, inclusive, and non-judgmental, and women can come and openly talk about these things, a real magic happens, and we can really see transformation happen just through that. And so being in that environment and and being understood and raising more awareness, as I said, creates more choice, creates more empowerment, and that's it pretty much.
Good, good. That's really good. Well, I think it's time for us to close the session now. So, except if you want to add anything, I don't know.
No, I'm very excited to for the session. Really looking forward to it, and yeah, I would love to see as many women join us uh,
Good.
if it feels relevant.
So, Maria, thank you so much for sharing these insights today with us. It's been a wonderful conversation, and I think you have already given us plenty to reflect on. If today's discussion resonated with you, we warmly invite you to join Maria upcoming Women's Lead Community Workshop on the 14th of July. Whether you are an entrepreneur thinking about starting a business or simply curious about your relationship with money, this workshop promises practical tools and powerful insights to help you rewrite your money story. So, thank you so much, Maria, and thank you for watching. And we hope to see you at the workshop on the 14th of July. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.